cross. Can you try? Om Ajnanatimiraandhasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunadhanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Krupa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. One second. Thanks, Gaur Keshav Prabhu. I think it's okay now. So let me see this. Okay. Hare Krishna to all the devotees of San Diego congregation. As we are welcoming Hurricane Hillary into our city, I'm actually taking a huge risk in speaking about one topic which is way advanced than my current spiritual level is. But where is my bag? Just one second. So, yeah. So, I think you all might know Prakash Prabhu. So, Prakash Prabhu and Rasika Sindhu Prabhu, when they are roommates in Reed Avenue apartment, they used to host a book reading group there. We used to go physically and attend some sessions. There, I saw this book. It's called Nama Rahasya, The Confidential Secrets of Chanting the Holy Name in Perfection, written by Satyanandan Swami Maharaj. Again, as I said, this is very advanced topic for me, but I thought this book has a nice compilation from our acharyas in this parampara, and Satyanandan Swami Maharaj put his own life experiences and revelations from realizations from years of practicing Krishna consciousness, and especially in chanting. So before I will tell you, like I'll present this book, like the contents of this book. That's what I'm going to do. But I'm not going to do everything in one session. So there are major three parts of the book. I'll come into the like the contents and everything in a short while. But before that, okay. So, up to now the title hasn't come. Okay. Jai. So this is His Holiness Satyanananda Swami Maharaj. He is one of the senior monks or like senior exalted Vaishnavas that we have, who are like Prabhupada disciples and all. So Maharaj, this is a brief history I took from his website. Maharaj is an expert in Kirtan and giving amazing lectures. And Maharaj also writes this book, books on especially chanting and so on. So we have less time. I will go into this. I took this from Maharaj's website. It's a very nice quote from His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. I have not come to teach you, but only to request you to please chant the name of God, purify your consciousness, and understand your spiritual identity. So, like many of you, like I see, you have been coming to the temple, so you are not new. So anywhere you go to any ISKCON temple throughout the world, you see there is one thing we strongly emphasize, that is chanting and prasadam. There are like 5 things that Prabhupada kept, like why there is a need for establishing temples. So a temple provides Krishna Siksha, Krishna Darshan, Krishna Prasadam, Krishna Seva, Krishna Nam, Kirtan and all. So that's what a function of a temple is. So mainly, like majority of the temples, like if it's not like Vaishnava temples or so, you see that they open through certain period of time and they close. It's mostly deity worship is predominantly what goes on there. But Prabhupada says that temples are actually meant for education, spiritual education. And also we get darshan, we get the holy name, we get the prasadam, the mercy of Lord Hari. So all these things we have. And you have been hearing from many lectures about the importance of service, why should we cultivate these habits of, you are attending some Bhagavad Gita classes, like Krishna also tells what are divine qualities or like that one must inculcate. And like what is the importance of service that we do, importance of charity that we do, like all this seva bhav. The whole setting of everything that we do is predominantly to chant names of Lord Hari constantly. That's the main goal. So Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I think you can see in those images. So who came like 500 years ago, who is the, Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita that yatha yatha hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutthanam dharmasya tadatmanam sujamyam. Whenever there is a dharma glani, like whenever the righteousness or the dharma is taking a turn, then tadatmanam sujamyam, I myself will come and restore the order. That's what Krishna does. So 5,000 years ago, this dharma glani happened when a family of Kauravas, who are trying to use up power without abiding by what actual dharmas are, they want to kill their brothers, Pandavas, and they repeatedly made these plots of burning their house down or like sending some people down, all the things, even after they did this, they like orchestrated a dice game with cheating and all, and they tried to disturb the chastity of like very pure conscious woman like as Draupadi, pure devotee also she is. And all these attempts they made just because of the demonic nature of them. Then Krishna came, restored the order, and even like when Arjuna was facing difficulty, then he gave the instruction as what to do and all. Now, like we are also in this world, like we are also having our own life. We are also in that state of confusion as to what to do and what not to do and all. So Krishna, at the beginning of Kali Yuga, when the dharma is declining, he came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and so there is a whole story of like how Varnashram system got corrupted, and because of all the Shadvikaras that we have, like lust, anger, greed, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsaryas. When the impure state of material beings get associated with these Shadvikaras, so you are prone to more of sense gratificatory ideas and without being conscious of what our actions lead to and so on and so forth. In the Kali Yuga is predominantly the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. Then Krishna, as he promised, came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Krishna comes himself as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the mood of Radharani. So he wants to experience how like Radharani feels that love and all. So Krishna comes in that mode. And we also have Balram coming as Nityananda Prabhu. And that's what the Panchatattva is. Advaita Acharya. That's what we say about Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So predominantly when Mahaprabhu came, based on his spiritual master, what he tried to put is, like he saw that there are this sect of Brahmanas, like either they are going into Mayavada or going in pure scholarly route without actually approaching the devotional service with love. That's why he had this Sankirtan party where they chant and dance through the streets, and he keeps on dancing ecstatically and spread the importance of holy names of Krishna, Rama, Hari. And mostly this is the Mahamantra that Mahaprabhu gave. And so actually if you are graduated in high school from India, in our social studies we have Mahaprabhu and all the saints listed under Bhakti movement. They say the great Bhakti movement and Mirabai and all these saints who comes there. So that is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Srila Prabhupada is coming in the parampara of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to spread that message of Mahaprabhu in terms of chanting and rendering devotional service. And that's what his movement was, and that's what led to this movement called ISKCON. So there is so all this setting, what I was saying is that the Mahaprabhu said in one of the verse, which Prabhupada or our acharyas say that we have any sadhaka should wear it like our Kantimala 3 rounds. And this sloka is like that. It says, Trinadapi sunichena taroriva sahishnuna amanena manadena kirtaniya sadahari. So the last line is kirtaniya sadaharihi, means one who can constantly engage in worshipping of Lord Hari, chanting his names. When can you do that? When you are Trinadapi sunichena. Trina means blade of grass. So if you are humbler than the blade of grass. The second thing is tarorapi sahishnuna. So you are more tolerant than a tree. We'll see how tolerant our trees are going to be with the hurricane and all. So that is how a devotee should be. Like when there is from material energy you are getting all sorts of tests, sita, ushna, sukha, dukkha, man, apaman, all these dualities. When we are forced to, we should be like Krishna says, tam titikshasva bharata, means Bharata, you have to, what is titikshasva means? You have to patiently endure it, like tolerate it. That's the thing. So that is what is Trinadapi suchena tarorapi sahishnuna. Next, amanena manadena, without expecting any respect unto you, giving respect to everyone. That's why we call Prabhu. It's very, like that word has very so much gravity. Calling someone as master, that means you don't call someone, random people as masters. So saying that I am your servant is actually, you first verbally say it, and you internally also should have that feeling that I am serving Hari, Guru and Vaishnavas. And that is to inculcate, like the way why we wear dhoti kurta. Dhoti doesn't have any border. Actually, the Gaudiya Vaishnava dhoti will not have any stitchings, if you see. It's like just pure cloth. So it is like symbolic of I am servant. And usually masters wear the stitched cloths. I am not, something like that. That's and also it keeps your consciousness pure. So once we engage in these three, like when we are humbler than the blade of grass, and then tolerant than the tree, and without expecting any respect, giving respect to others, then we can able to kirtaniya sadaharihi. Then we can constantly engage in glorification of or chanting the names of Hari. So this book by Satyananda Swami Maharaj is also in that line of what Maharaj wants to give is he wants to give his realizations. Like he went through certain traumatic surgery when he was in Bosnia. So there Maharaj read Sri Chaitanya Sikshamrita by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. There, like it is said here, like in 6th chapter, which he poetically calls the 6th rainfall, Thakur explains in a little more than 30 pages on the complete secret of chanting the holy name. As I read on and on, I felt his presence in my heart and was reminded of those few precious moments that every chanter knows. Those moments when from the depths of the soul, a little spiritual insight bursts forth and pervades one's entire being. After such moments, we scratch our head and ask, what was that? Searching the universe of our experience, we find nothing with which to compare it. At that time we feel, oh, if I could just experience more of the Holy Name's mercy, my life would be perfect and I would need nothing else. This is extracted from preface of Sachidananda Swami Maharaj. So when he read through these, the 6th chapter, like as it mentioned, the 6th rainfall, he summarized those in this book. So the contents of this book has 3 parts that Maharaj divided. So in anything we do, we take this Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojana. So same way the book is also divided, which is Nama Sambandha, Nama Abhideya, Nama Prayojana is what Maharaj calls. And we will discuss only the first part of it because of the time constraints. So the part 1 establishes our relationship with Holy Name by gaining correct understanding. And part 2 and part 3 describes the meaning and end of chanting. So, going to the first part, approaching the ocean of Holy Name. So, actually, I have to give a kind of a disclaimer. So, whatever I'm going to speak here is technically really profound, and like the words of Acharyas also come, like they are very technically very strong and all. My objective, like each topic that I'm taking like 3-4 chapters from this of part 1, and you can like go on and like so many discussions like consolidating verses from Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, like each point, this book is very dense in that aspect. Like every point you can give a like Bhagavatam class itself. So my objective is I will present this in a bird's eye view so that you see the entire content of it. And then we can actually visit more deeply into individual topics as well. So if something is difficult to understand and all, please let me know, or like you can speak with me later also. So the first topic that Maharaj brings is waking up from the dream. So Maharaj opens this thing from what Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes as, when the soul, like I think you know the engineering of the soul, how like the soul is Satchidananda form. So it is full, eternal and full of bliss and knowledge. But when it is coming to the material world, it is covered with this ignorance, like mind, body, false ego, mind, intelligence, false ego, and then the 5 senses. Like that, there are like 16 or 20 coverings there. It will be said in like 3rd canto of Bhagavatam, where there are different coverings and all. So what chanting does, like when we are chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So this is called Mahamantra. And when we chant, we are actually removing these layers of ignorance, and the soul awakens from the ignorance. That's why in our prayers in India we say, Om Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Asatoma Satgamaya. From temporariness, please lead me to Sat, eternal. And Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, from Tama means from the darkness, please lead me into light. Then Mrutyorma Amrutangamaya. From this Mrityu means this death, that concept of death we have, like the end, the beginning and all that, which is actually a material disease, that's what Prabhupada tells. From that, Mrityorma Amrutangamaya, you go into an eternal state. That is rendering into service unto Lord Hari in Golok Vrindavan. So, when the soul awakens from the dream of material life, then it realizes that up to then it has been serving the ungrateful masters, the mind and body. If we take the summary of any average human being's life, you can see that all he or she was doing is to serve mind's dictations or body's dictations. That's what the chase of this world is. So, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur tells in that context, at that time the awakened soul says in effect to mind and body, I am not identical with you. I do not want what you require. I have so long believed that I was identical with yourself and that our interests were same, but I now find that I am really and categorically different from you. I am made wholly of the principle of self-consciousness, while both of you are made of dead matter. I refuse to be a slave anymore. So, awakening soul also, like it is, you can say that when we woke up from nightmare, like there was a horrible dream that you woke up, and then when you want to immediately go back to sleep, you have that kind of some anxiety. Oh, what if I go into that nightmare again? What if some other nightmares come or something like that? So similarly, even the awakening soul, which is full of knowledge and remembering all this like a false path that it took, it also realizes the danger of lapsing back onto the unconsciousness as person after deep sleep. So Maharaj speaks about how the beginning stages of the sadhakas are often called as these divided souls. They are divided between the material and spiritual life. It is so. This book is a very good handbook for the practitioners who are either beginning to chanting or have been chanting for a while, who are having some difficulty in having that steadiness, that taste, those all. Maharaj covers all those concepts. So, like divided souls, like what exactly are the divided souls that Srila Viswanath Chakravarti Thakur states? When we initially gain a drop of faith, when we means any beginner or anyone who gains a drop of faith, then he thinks, let me become a Vaishnava and serve the Lord. That's what he wants to do. The concepts of I and mine are still there, though little more spiritualized. Even though we are come in contact with devotional service and all, that concept of I and mine, we don't lose it completely. So this is what Maharaj brings about suffering from divided mind. What we truly want and things actually what we do. That is, when we hear from Bhagavatam classes, Bhagavad Gita classes, we get that Shastra Chakshu, they say. That is like we take the eyes of Shastra from Vedas and all. And through that Vedic knowledge, we try to see what is good for us and what is not good for us. And we know like what is good for us and what is not good for us. Like for example, taking any 4 regulative principles of meat eating, intoxication, gambling or illicit sex. If you break these are called the pillars of sinful life. So this is like breaking these puts us away from Krishna, right? So we know that we should not do it, but the temptations, the Maharaj tells about the new will which we begin to develop because of hearing through this Vani and all. But sometimes we feel this vulnerability that we are not strong enough before the fierce masters of old habits. So that like you see, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur also writes in Bhakti Viveka this thing. Alas, how unfortunate I am, having fallen into this insurmountable ocean of material existence. I am being thrown here by the violent waves of my wicked desires. I cry helplessly at my miserable condition, but I don't see any hope for my survival. What should I do? Do I not have any well-wisher? Is there any possible way I can be rescued? Alas, what to do? How will I be delivered? I don't see any solution to my dilemma. Alas, alas, I am most unfortunate. Take me to you, my Lord. Take me up to the shade of the cool dust of your lotus feet. Oh, have mercy on this wretched self. This is by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And if you have some idea about like the life what Bhaktivinoda Thakur led, he is actually he is called as the 7th Goswami. Like we have Mahaprabhu's, after Mahaprabhu we have Shad Goswami, the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, who gave wealth of literature about how to, what is an unalloyed message of Vedic succession that we have to follow. and about the Krishna Prema, how to achieve. All this wealth of knowledge that six Goswamis of Vrindavan they gave, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur came much after that. And if you see our founder Acharya, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada's Murti is there. So his guru is Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and his father is Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He used to sleep from 9 to 12 and wake up at 12. So he is actually a magistrate under British government. And British government, so impressed by the work ethics of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, laid a railway from his house to the court that he can go. So that kind of reputation Bhaktivinoda Thakur has. And his daily schedule, if you see, he sleeps at 9 o'clock, wakes up at 12, and from 12 to 4 he writes songs. There are beautiful songs that Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes. And like if you see these kind of prayers from the thing, from the Acharyas, yeah, Rich itself. And also Maharaj mentions, I think that, what this crying will be there, it comes in the next. So one Bhaktivinoda Thakur's prayer we heard, and another one is Mahaprabhu's. So Mahaprabhu gives Sishtastakam verses. And one of that, the fifth verse is this: Ainanda tanuja kinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavam bhudau kripaya tava pada pankaja stita dhuli sadrisam vichintaya. O son of Nanda, Krishna, king of country of love, I appeal for your affection. I am your servant. I feel deep within myself that I have some connection to you. I am subordinate to you, but somehow I am now in adverse circumstances. There are so many enemies within me trying to take me away from you. Therefore, I cannot give my full attention to you and your name. At the same time, I feel from the deepest place in my heart that you are my master. You are all and everything to me. My heart will never be satisfied without your companionship. So I appeal to you. I am under unfavorable circumstances and I am suffering. And without your grace, I do not find any relief from my present imprisoned condition. This was taken from one of the lectures from Mahanidhi Swami Maharaj. And here if you see the sincere cry of this an honest person, like pure devotees like Mahaprabhu or Bhaktivinoda Thakur, quickly reaches the Lord's ears. This is a very nice thing that concludes this thing. To the ears of a worldly man, this crying may sound like a shameful admission of one's complete failure as a human being. But to Lord's ears, such crying is a sublime vibration, a sound that he has been anxiously waiting for a long time. This sound pierces the strong prison walls of the material universe and moves to Lord's heart. He then begins making concrete plans of how to assist in the awakening of such a devotee. The first phase of Lord's divine rescue plan is to send devotees onto fortunate souls' path. As such persons stand at the crossroads of material and spiritual life without knowing which way to turn, they meet devotees sent by the Lord, and if they are humble enough, they become willing to learn how they can be delivered. Through the words and actions of his dear devotees, Krishna implants faith in his holy name, faith that bears in its womb the powerful seed of bhava, the bud ecstatic love of God. And this is a beautiful thing that Maharaj says, is about like whenever we have these sincere prayers unto Lord Hari, like when you hear and you realize your condition and you want to be helped and you pray Krishna to show a way, then the first concrete plan that Krishna makes is to put us in the path of a fortunate soul or any devotee. Like any persons who are chanting like 16 rounds or initiated devotees, you ask, everyone has some very beautiful story of how they came to Krishna consciousness. They met a devotee and like through books or like through Harikatha or like some lecture or somewhere. Everyone has their own unique way of coming onto this path, and that's the mercy of Krishna, putting us in the path of a fortunate soul's path. And the prime process which they can develop the love of God is to chant the holy name. Then Krishna appears in the life of a conditioned soul in the form of holy name, which is both sadhana and sadhya. Sadhana is practice, sadhya is the goal of practice. So when we come in that fortunate soul's path, or realized people's path, the first thing they say is, Prabhu, like our Mataji, the way you can perfect your life is to chant this Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So that is both sadhana and sadhya. That is both the practice and the goal of practice. So chanting is both the way and the goal, but the means and the end. That's what the waking from the dream. And then there is another beautiful section that that Maharaj writes, that more merciful than Krishna himself. So if you see the Shastras, Shastra repeatedly says that Krishna and Krishna's name are non-different. That's why if you come to the morning program, when we offer after the Tulsi Arati, we have like 2 hours session of where we chant the japa, and before begin, after we say the 10 offenses that we should avoid, it is taken from Padma Puran. You can just Google it up. And then when we just recite the 10 offenses, after that we say Harinam Prabhu ki jai. So we actually pray to the Harinam Prabhu, or like the Krishna Nam. He is actually non-different from Krishna himself. And Maharaj tells that the holy name manifests as Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha, an eternally conscious form full of transcendental mellows or rasas. So, but can we perceive it? Are we able to see that, like when we are chanting, are we able to see that Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha form? Why we are not able to perceive is just as we are not able to see or hear God because of the senses that we have. So the body and the senses that we have are full of blood, stool and urine, right? It's made of this mundane matter, and with this we cannot see God. That's why Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilokanena, that's what Brahma Samhita says. So if you want to see God, or if you want to hear God, we need some more above material senses, we need spiritual senses. So Krishna should grant us that. In the same way, holy name also, like we are not able to see that Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha form because we are still in that impure state. So that is why so spiritual senses needs to be awakened to perceive that. And Maharaj tells this discussion between the person Krishna and the name Krishna, and he says, actually if you hear some of the songs of the like Vaishnavas or so, they invite Krishna to stay in your heart. Mama mana mandire rahoni sidin Krishna murare Sri Krishna murare. The song goes on. This is also written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, beautiful song. It says, please reside in my heart, in the temple of my heart, or so on and so forth. But we know that Krishna comes and resides in our hearts, like in his own original form, not as a Paramatma standing form and all. Like Krishna comes and stands in the form of a purified heart. Maharaj writes very beautiful section, as the name Krishna is more merciful than the person Krishna, because Harinam Prabhu comes even in the impure state when your heart is, and then takes up the job of street sweeper, and then like a jhadu he starts purifying the impure heart. That's why Namarupa Krishna is actually given like a street sweeper form, and he is more merciful than Krishna himself. So there is this discussion, there is this verse in Agni Purana that Maharaj brings up, that is, the name of Krishna is purely spiritual. There is no knowledge as great as that name, and no practice of austerity or meditation, no result of spiritual activity, no form of renunciation, no act of sense control, no pious act, and no goal that can match it. The name is supreme liberation, the supreme destination, and supreme peace. The name is eternal life itself. The name is supreme devotion and supreme intelligence. The name is supreme love and the supreme remembrance. The name is soul's reason for existence. The name is Lord of the soul, the most worshipful object and the supreme Guru. That's what Agni Purana says about the name of Krishna. So, Maharaj also speaks about the two types of chanters. This is a discussion about how Krishna Nam is more merciful than Krishna. And he says about, as we take up to this path of chanting and devotional service, there are two types of chanters that are there, who are like in preliminary phase and who are in continuous phase. So this is given from Sri Chaitanya Sikshamrita. So preliminary is like you heard from some devotees like about the glories of holy name. You know about the importance of chanting and you start taking up to this process of chanting and you just begin. But as you make your effort, you don't get the taste immediately. You don't understand the importance of chanting yet. But you keep on trying to chant, you take a break, you chant, like that you go into this unsteady path. But when you are endeavoring for Krishna Prema and then you want to purify yourself and you want to take this process seriously, then you take up to this like some fixed number of rounds and you constantly keep doing it. That phase, after a while, like Maharaj says, that it becomes so, I will read that, you come to this phase of continuous where you chant without interruption, without any break of that day, you keep on chanting continuously. So that is a continuous phase. So sincere efforts eventually make practitioners to reach continuous stage. They do it steadily and they do not want to give up chanting. When they are in this phase, they see that karmic reactions, even if they are in the preliminary stages, Maharaj says that as soon as you chant Krishna's names, as soon as you chant the Mahamantra, the karmic reactions, which is a reaction from the material desires and the root of both ignorance are all destroyed. The road becomes free. That's what Maharaj says. The road of spiritual path, that is what it means. So, when we are going through this path, we require faith, determination, and ultimately the attraction to Krishna to gradually increase our chanting. All this gained by association with advanced devotees. So, one easy way for us to get this habit of chanting constantly is to take association of advanced devotees. Like we have Dravida Prabhu, Badrinath Maharaj, Vijay Prabhu, Balram Prabhu, who have been doing this process. All the brahmacharis are there, who without fail chant their rounds. They chant extra also, and they are leading pure lives. We take their association and get inspired to chant. And there is one, so why we are chanting 16 rounds, why we are having mala, 108. So there are many people who say, so just sit and just chant one time, that's enough. I will do according to my own comfort, like this kind of things they say, right? So Maharaj speaks about the law of diminishing interest. So there is one universal law that happens, that is law of diminishing interest is you start up an activity, but as you progress, you lose interest. Like we also have this experience. We take one thing very enthusiastically, but we lose interest after a while. So this law of diminishing interest is there. That is why one way to overcome this law of diminishing interest and not to fall prey to that is by nirbandha. There is a typo, it's NIRBANDHA, I apologize. So that is nirbandha. Nirbandha means a practitioner should chant the 16 name 32 syllable Mahamantra 108 times. So Bhaktivinoda Tagore gives the details. Chanting that 4 rounds is called grandha. One should start with grandha and gradually reach to 16 grandhas, which are 64 rounds. Of course, Prabhupada made us some concession and he allowed us to chant like 16 rounds daily. That comes to 4 grandhas. So that will make a prescribed number of 100,000 holy names. By gradually increasing the number of holy names to 300,000, one spends his entire life simply chanting. All the previous acharyas have attained perfection by following this order of Lord Mahaprabhu. So this is from Harinam Chintamani. So for us also to not fall prey to this law of diminishing interest, we take this sankalpa of chanting some fixed number of rounds, so that even though we are losing the interest, all sorts of dictations that mind receives, we constantly keep consistency in chanting of holy name. Then eventually when you are purifying and all, that process become effortless, joyous and all. And also another way that we chant holy name is through Harinam, Sankirtans and all that. There is a discussion of Yukta Vairagya in this. So Yukta Vairagya is a very big topic, but briefly Maharaj mentions a very important topics of this. So Yukta Vairagya. So whenever a sadhaka begins the process, but you see some of them don't continue and they fall, it's because they are depending on their material body and mind. So engaging this material body and mind is in spiritual advancement is called Yukta Vairagya. So the discussion why this engagement comes is that one thing as sadhakas we don't remember, or like we forget, is we are actually dependent on material body and mind even for our spiritual advancement. Not knowing that and doing extreme cases is where you miss the balance. So Yukta Vairagya is connected renunciation. So Vairagya means, we know, like in many monks and all, where they give up everything, just go and they go to Himalayas, or like they don't speak, or all this is called Vairagya. But that is actually not suggested by the Vaishnava Acharyas, because you have this sense of the false ego doesn't purify, and you are not actually that is not the highest form. Like where if you are engaging your talents in serving Krishna, or like spreading the message of Krishna by being with people, and you are helping the fellow conditioned souls also, it is more pleasing to Lord Hari than you are seeing some cave and then you are meditating on your own. So that's why for beginners, Maharaj says that it's important to take care of physical, emotional and social well-being. And Maharaj says you have to be intelligent while practicing, that is not being too sensuous, not being too austere, because are not too sensuous or not too austere, because both are detrimental to the spiritual life. So Maharaj takes this example from Srimad Bhagavatam, where there is an analogy of an expert horseman desiring to tame a headstrong horse, like how he lets the horse have his way for a moment, and then how he brings into the control. Like that, slowly by dovetailing all our senses towards the process of devotional service, then we can subdue mind, and then we can prolonged way engage in this process of chanting. So another way to control these mind's temptations, or like these deficacies or so, is to speak to one's own mind. That's what the technique that Maharaj gives. That you have to speak to your mind saying, see, brother mind, everything here is born and will die. You will never be able to catch and hold the infatuation that you currently feel. If you try, you will only be frustrated. The past is something you cannot retrieve, and future is inaccessible to you. So please give up all the material illusions and attachments that have been generated over time and act now in Krishna consciousness. Like that, if you keep on reminding your mind, then that's one way to subdue the mind. And also in Bhajana Rahasya by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, another technique that is said is, accept the kind of work necessary for keeping yourself alive without engaging in gossip. Do not work for the sake of pleasing the senses. Act in such a way that your powers of speech and thought are healthy, and you do not lose your commitment to appropriate renunciation. So Yukta Vairagya is also appropriate renunciation. So the right perspective, we are coming to the conclusion. Bhaktivinoda Thakur points out that from very beginning, chanter needs to have right understanding of the spiritual or unearthly nature of the holy name. Even though you are not completely purified, you just began chanting, you need to understand that the holy name is not some syllables that are coming from the language that is created from the material world, but it is coming from it has a spiritual potency that we should realize, and we should believe in that, and then we have to take up to this process of chanting. chanting. Even before entering the field of Nama Bhajana, one should first know for certain Krishna's form, Krishna's name, Krishna's service, Krishna's servants are all eternally free. That is beyond the grasp of Maya, the illusory energy. This is in Chaitanya Sikshamrita. How we try to understand and strengthen these aspects is to constantly hear the classes of Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita or so on and so forth, where that intelligence gets strengthened to strengthen our faith in believing the eternal aspects of Krishna's thing. Knowledge of Krishna, his divine associates, their world, and how to engage in service, there comes to us through pure heart of realized devotees. By coming in contact with such devotees and listening to them, seeing them, or reading their writings, sparks of realization fly from their heart, fires into our hearts and light the fire of our own transcendental realization. This fire will burn our material misconception to ashes. So by chanting the name Hari, all sins are harati, destroyed. Just as the fire burns, even one touches it accidentally. So if a person accidentally chants the name of Hari, then all of his sins are burned up. This name reveals Lord's real form with all his bliss and knowledge, and thus destroys ignorance and its effects. That is the meaning of word Hari. Here we'll see that Maharaj speaks about the meaning of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Different meanings will be there. One, Hari. Like one we saw, like Harati, how he removes that away. And another thing is Hari, one who takes away, Harati, the three miseries of material existence from all the living entities. Or Hari, one who attracts, Harati, the minds of all living entities when they hear about his transcendental qualities from a bona fide spiritual master, Guru. Or Hari, who attracts the mind of all avatars and all people by his sweetness and beauty, which is greater than millions of cubits. The word Hari becomes Hare in vocative case when you are addressing that. Or, according to Brahma Samhita, the person who attracts the Lord's mind by her ideal love, Radha, is called Hara. In vocative case, Hara becomes Hare. So it can be either that or this. And also, according to the Agamas, the word Krish means to attract. Na means ultimate bliss. So Krishna means the person who attracts, a being personification of ultimate bliss. And Rama, Ra, when you open your mouth and say Ra, all sins are driven away. And Ma is to prevent from all the sins returning back to you. So that is where the chanting of Rama comes from. Or also it also means that person who enjoys Radha eternally is Rama. This refers to Krishna. So that is the first part of this book. It speaks about the preface of what is the importance of chanting of holy name, what actually the holy name means, and by chanting the Mahamantra, how you are going onto this path of spiritual process where you purify your oneself, and that is it. There is a poem I kept here. This is from the poem of Dravida Prabhu also I kept here. It's from Raghunath Das Goswami's Sthavavali. It says, Radheti nama navasundara sidu mugdham, Krishneti nama maduradbhuta gada dugdham, sarvakshanam surabhiraga himena ramyam, kritva tadaiva pibame rasanekshudarte. An excellent fresh nectar drink with endless subtle tastes. Such is the name of Radha, by whom all three worlds are graced. Condensed milk that is wonderfully delicious, thick and sweet. Such is the name of Krishna, in whom all attractions meet. Now mix these drinks, O thirsty tongue, and add the fragrant, cooling spice of love, a prize the wise will try to buy at any price. And then at every moment, drink this beverage most fine and make my heart supremely blissful, peaceful and divine. This poem was written by Dravida Prabhu. So, in next sessions when I get a chance to speak, I'll speak about the second part and then the third part, and then we'll see into the realizations of Sachidananda Swami Maharaj of this book Nama Rahasya. Thank you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jai Hare Krishna.